Welcome to the debate with Stephan F Wagner regarding social media, LinkedIn, and TikTok. Stephan is founder of Wagner Consulting, which specializes in personal branding through personal development, integrity, and high-quality content. Stephan was the first guest on the AskFaleskini podcast interview series and is now the first guest on the AskFaleskini podcast, My Debate series. Welcome back, Stephan, to the AskFaleskini podcast. You have been first twice on this podcast. So let's start with the debate with a discussion of how important it is to be first in social media.
Hi, Peter. I'm really happy to be here again. It was a pleasure last time. And I guess this time we're going to have fun again.
Yeah, as always.
As always. How important is social media?
And how important is to be first?
Well, not at all. The point is to be there is important. And whenever you start, it's never too late. So you don't really have to need to be the very first. You just need to be there. And you need to be consequent. And then it will work out.
So do you believe that the first people that start something new, they make all the mistakes? And then we, the followers, can avoid these mistakes and do the better prototype first time?
Yeah, that's a very good strategy that you're just talking. But the point is, wherever you are, no matter if it's in business or in private, we have basically three different kinds. We have the first starters. They start something even if it doesn't really work. You might remember Tesla, the first few cars, they were kind of not perfect. Then we have the medium starters. They are always looking if things are already working, if the risk is still too big. Mm-hmm. And if the risk is not too big anymore, they start. And then we have the slow starters. They will enter a system after everything is proven 1,000 times. For social media, you can do whatever you want. You can be one of the first starters. Then you have to accept that you might need more work to do. Things are not always working out at the beginning. Personally, I'm in the middle group because I really enjoy to at least take over experience from others. It makes my life much easier.
I'm a bit more conservative, so I'm usually the last starter, the follower. As you can see also on platforms, we met on LinkedIn with the top person ambassador, and I was one of the last to join. Although I had a lot of benefits of joining, and I'm still working on that. So, do you believe that making business it's possible without social media these days?
Well, I know exactly it is possible, but the point is, why should you make things extra difficult? You know, it's like having a car and still going buy food. You know, it's not necessary. Social media is like a wonderful tool that we can just use. And if you build a house nowadays, you don't try to put in the nails by hitting it with your forehead. You're using a hammer. So why not use the given tools?
So do you believe social media is important for branding or branding and community building?
Well, it is definitely a massive tool that can make that so much easier. If you compare especially marketing and branding to about 20 years ago, at that time, you still had your high polished magazine, you had your flyers, you know, you had your profile business cards, probably, you know, but all of that stuff costs a shitload of money. And as soon as it's printed, you cannot change it easily. Now, with the digital medias, with social medias, you can basically roll out a brand strategy within days. And not only that, in the past, if you wanted to be quite sure that your strategy works, you had to do a real invest. You had probably to do 2 different print versions or even more. Nowadays, you just go to social media and you can even do an A/B test at the same time, even at the same channels. So these options, these possibilities, they have never been here before. So it's so easy compared to the past. All those who are not using social media for their marketing and also to gain new customers, they are just missing out a real treasure.
Okay. I remember in Germany, trade fairs were a big thing. In some sense, they still are. There was two. If you wanted to be known as a producer, you had to be on the fair.
Yeah.
And if you want to know all the people, you had to visit the fair. So it was almost a must to be on certain fairs at that time. Do you think that this is now somehow transferred to social media, or are the fairs still important?
That's a really interesting question. In the Corona time, everyone was really afraid that probably there will be no fairs anymore and all of that stuff. I think there will be fairs even in 10 years or in 20 years alone because we are all social beings. So even if we would not have a product to show, the pure fact that you can meet someone in person will always be attractive. What I realized, especially the last, let's say, 12 months on fairs here in Germany, that even on the booth, sometimes they don't even have a lot of equipment anymore. So even on the booth, there is very often some kind of online access, some kind of virtual demonstration, all of that stuff. And the people are still standing there. You can still talk to them, but it's not like in the years before that you can touch all of these things. Things are changing. Still, humans are social beings. The possibility to sometimes have a direct conversation, I think that is still valued very high. But probably I'm old-fashioned. That's my thing.
Yeah. So social media is still a really important tool. And I also believe, or at least I used to have a really big Rolodex with all the business cards inside and all the people. And now I have all the people on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I interact with them. I share my content. I get their feedback. When I need, I get in touch with them. I think, for example, LinkedIn is for me the best B2B tool there is in operation right now, or at least that I'm aware of, and that I can use it to some degree. What do you think are the best social media for business to business
Well,
right now?
when you're somewhere in the Western Hemisphere, I would definitely say LinkedIn. LinkedIn still has a giant reach when it comes to professionals. And as you've realized yourself, the way to behave on LinkedIn is really not comparable to Facebook. So you don't have that much cat content, not that much crying babies in your feed. Usually people are really trying to show their values, to show what they can do, to show their expertise, which I love on LinkedIn. It's a bit difficult using LinkedIn if you try to go into personal or political themes. But if you use LinkedIn purely for business, it's still a great platform because you can show more. You have, let's say, the dynamic is more reflected. You have usually people who are willed to read some lines. In so many other platforms, you can do a lot of work, but sometimes only the first 2 lines are being read, and then all of your work is just going to waste. That is still very good at LinkedIn.
Okay.
But
Sorry.
But on the other hand, LinkedIn, especially since the beginning of Corona, changed its tonality a little bit. That means, although I don't really like to talk about it at all, LinkedIn is highly getting censored since a few years, and you realize that if you use it continuously, that is why I clearly tell everyone, use LinkedIn for business purpose only and purely. Then, still a great platform.
Okay. Well, what do you think about Facebook as a platform to reaching out to customers, business to business customers, not end customers, end consumers?
Difficult. I also have a Facebook account, which is quite small with about 1,500 followers, something like that. And at Facebook, if you have an end consumer product, it's great. You can have a big reach for end consumers quite quickly. But in business to business, still, I would prefer LinkedIn.
Okay. Do you think that Instagram has become just, let's say, part of Facebook because of all the integration? Do you think that the group of people using it is marginally or almost the same?
Sometimes I have a comparable feeling, but due to the fact that I'm also using Instagram, it's more like the feeling was it's like merging with Facebook. It's becoming like Facebook 2.0 on a different format. But I believe the user profile in Instagram is still different. Instagram is still more a platform for influencers. It's still more a platform where you go through mainly video content. And even if you look at hashtag strategies, they're different between Facebook and Instagram. So the possibility that now you can post stuff on Instagram and it will automatically be reposted on your Facebook profile might make things easy, but still you need to check the needs of the different platforms. For example, on Facebook nowadays, you can make reels and shorts. On Instagram, the same thing. But if you do a reel on Instagram, it won't not really gain a lot of traction on Facebook, because still the way users are using those platforms is a bit different. So I believe it's more like merging platforms, like more merging internal processes, but the way how it's being used, I don't think it will change too much.
Okay. What do you think about YouTube as a business tool?
I like YouTube a lot. In business to business, I don't really see it, not in a German-speaking market.
Mhm. Okay, that is really good point. So you believe that there's also different markets that speak different languages, use different social media for different effects, or
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. I have a friend in the States, in Florida, who is doing online coaching. Okay, so he's using YouTube for all of that. So basically, he records all his lessons on YouTube channels, and in his online courses, he uses the links to his YouTube channels. And on YouTube, he doesn't publish it publicly. He publishes it in a way that you need the link. So he's
Okay.
basically using YouTube like an external video server, which is great. And additionally, he's getting money from YouTube, through the views. And his customers are business customers. He's doing training for health and safety.
Okay, so for our American viewers who would like to expand internationally, I think it's safe to say that for a global reach, they will need many different strategies for many different markets. Would you agree with that?
I would definitely agree with that a lot, but they still have a huge advantage. If you're in the English-speaking part of the world, you can still use the same language to address it. But to understand how different cultures are taking up informations will help a lot. So if you target Australians, you behave and you use kind of a different words and formulations as if you would target US Americans. If you want to target Europeans with English, it's working too, because most of us speak English. You still are using a kind of a different approach based on culture.
So that is when you want to sell your services or your products globally, the culture of the people that you want to serve your product to is really important. Is that correct?
I believe so. Yes, absolutely. If I compare, let me just give you an example. My part life coaching and business mentoring. If I would address Americans, the way I would talk, the way I would address them would be kind of aggressive. It would be kind of, intense. It would be kind of really motivating. Yeah. Best example is Tony Robbins. He's usually never quiet. It's always like, wake the child in you, blah, blah. That's, if you try to use the same way in Europe, you won't get a customer, because we need a more quiet way. If you use that way in India, you won't be seen at all, because it's not their style, not at all. It's like in sales, if you want to sell a product, you can talk in your language, but you won't sell. If you want to sell a product, you need to talk in the language of your customer, then you sell. And it's the same thing. It's, by the way, marketing and branding exactly the same too. So why, when you do a branding campaign or a marketing campaign, why do you define the target group first? It's to understand how to address them.
Okay, so social media is the same. So
Yeah, exactly.
all the classical marketing, it's still there. Yeah. Just the tool or the channel is new. So this social media channel, is that correct?
And sometimes you need to translate words. You know, like old hogs like me, we grew up without all of these English words, you know, but it is still the same. Sometimes you need just to translate into a more actual language to understand what, you know, these young marketing gurus are talking about. But they are talking about exactly the same mechanics, the same methods we've been using 30 years ago. Just 30 years ago, we were going from door to door, or we advertising in newspapers and in magazines. We were doing flyers. But all of that you can still find in social media. It's just not called a flyer. It's probably called a newsletter. It's probably not called a magazine. It's probably called a freebie, yeah, or an expert book or something like that you can give out for free. The methods are the same, just the names are changing about and the tools are changing.
Okay, so nothing ever changed. Everything stays the same, just different tools. Is that correct?
The more I live, the longer I live, the more I agree.
Okay, so my problem the same. So I have exactly the same problem. I just see all these tools and they go, oh, ChatGPT will change everything now, and social media will never be the same, and everything will change, and now the text will be written by ChatGPT and all this stuff.
ChatGPT is a fantastic example, a really fantastic example. You know why? I'm using ChatGPT and I like ChatGPT a lot. But the first thing I realized is ChatGPT was lying to me. ChatGPT was trying to get a logical output without checking the content. For me, it was not a big deal because I'm not using ChatGPT to create new content. So I understood that that was just a new formulation, but it was basically not a fact. It was a fake. Now I'm using actually ChatGPT 4, which is a more conscious model, but it's still the same. The way it is being sold through social media is like, you know, the solution to everything. You don't need your own brain anymore. Use ChatGPT. But you know what? ChatGPT is great. You know what's greater? Your own thoughts. And why? ChatGPT is only as good as you are able to use it. And that's not based on learning how to prompt, because learning how to prompt is just a technique like riding a bicycle. The point is, you need to know exactly what you want, and you need to be very safe in your content. Because ChatGPT can help you organize. It can help you change wording. It can help you translate a text from being motivational to being empathic or being aggressive or being friendly. But ChatGPT will never right now be able to understand the quality of the content. And that is what people don't understand yet. Yeah.
Okay, great point. I'll make a short out of this.
Do that if you like.
Yeah, it's good. Okay, so that was about social media. We touch everything a bit. Listeners and viewers have learned a lot. Basically, they should be able to set up a TikTok strategy and set up their venture into TikTok as a tool based on our discussion. So I thank you very much for your time, and thank you for sharing all your experiences.
I'm happy to be here, and it's fun to share that because it's really easy and it makes a lot of fun. So TikTok is like a playground, and it can create not only fun, it also can create fantastic connections because you really meet interesting people on TikTok. It's like LinkedIn. We met through LinkedIn, and I'm happy that we did.
Okay, thank you.